cacao, the food of the gods, and the gateway to the heart that was stolen from us. Cacao is the key that opens the heart's door without ever having to break it. Kate Wilson, the chocolate shaman. But what if I told you that the chocolate you eat today is just a pale shadow of a sacred ritual that once connected humans to the gods? What if behind every cacao seed lies a hidden secret, a forbidden medicine, an ancient code that can reawaken your dormant soul? You've been told it's just a sweet treat. You've been taught to eat it with guilt, to overindulge, or to calm your anxiety. But you were never told the truth. Cacao was considered a bridge between worlds. Not just a food, but a living substance with its own soul, able to open the human heart to the divine. A sacrament that today is distorted, packaged, and sold by multinational corporations that have forgotten or hidden its true meaning. In pre-Columbian cultures, cacao wasn't a dessert. It was an offering, a portal, a medicine. The Maya didn't drink it for pleasure, but as part of a rite. The Mexica offered it to Quetzalcoatl, and in the jungle, women used it in ceremonies to heal invisible wounds that no doctor could treat. Coincidence? Cacao was one of the first foods corrupted by the elite. They turned it into commercial chocolate, oversaturated it with sugar, and made it just a product, because when a food awakens the soul, it becomes dangerous to a system that prefers obedient bodies and closed hearts. What you're about to hear isn't a documentary about chocolate. It's a deep dive into ceremonial cacao, the energy of the heart, the memory of the body, and secret rituals that some communities still use today as a key to release trauma, spark visions, and reconnect with the divine. You'll also learn why it was taken from us, because it wasn't an accident, it was a plan. Get ready to discover why cacao was called the food of the gods, and why, when you consume it in its purest form, something inside you changes forever. Welcome to Beyond the Brain. Subscribe now, because what you're about to uncover will either open your heart or tear the blindfold from your eyes, or maybe both. The divine origin of cacao and its bond with the gods. Long before the world knew the word chocolate, cacao was already revered as sacred. In the Maya codices, it appears not as food, but as a divine offering. In Mesoamerican cultures, the cacao tree was called the tree of the gods. And that wasn't just a metaphor. The Maya believed cacao was a gift from the gods to align the human heart with the pulse of the universe. According to the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiché Maya, cacao existed before humans were born. It belonged to a parallel spiritual realm, the underworld, and was among the sacred foods the creators gave to the new humans after the Great Flood. They weren't alone. The Mexica, or Aztecs, saw cacao as a celestial substance sent by the god Quetzalcoatl. Legend says he stole the cacao tree from paradise and gave it to mankind so they might gain wisdom, strength, and spiritual connection. That divine theft wasn't an accident. Cacao has always been a spark of hidden power, a spark dangerous to those in control. Their reverence was so deep that in pre-Hispanic Mexico, cacao served as currency. With cacao seeds, you could buy goods, pay tribute, even offer worship. But here's the most striking fact. Only priests, kings, and warriors could drink it pure. For common people, it was forbidden. They prepared it only in rituals. They drank it bitter, thick, without sugar, sometimes mixed with blood, sometimes chili, sometimes hallucinogenic flowers. They called it chocolatl, which doesn't mean sweet, but bitter water. But that bitterness wasn't punishment. It was a key. Cacao did more than nourish. It opened, activated, awakened, allowing entry into a state where visions, messages, and buried emotions could surface. It unlocked the heart, the most guarded, most wounded, most feared center of energy. And here's where it gets unsettling. When colonizers encountered this brew, they didn't understand it. They condemned it as heresy, superstition, black magic, but still took it home, either to destroy it or study it in secret. In some European occult circles, cacao was used in alchemical and hermetic rituals. They didn't mix it with milk and sugar. They used it intentionally. They knew something awakened when cacao was pure and alive. And that's exactly what was stolen from us. They left us only the shell. They left us chocolate. But cacao is still waiting. Have you ever heard this before? Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe because the deepest truths are still to come. Cacao as sacred medicine and its use in hidden rituals. If cacao was considered a gift from the gods, it wasn't for the body but for the soul. In the jungles of Mesoamerica and South America, where lineages of healers still survive, cacao is still used, not as a drink, but as a spiritual medicine. But beware, we're not talking about medicine in the pharmaceutical sense. There's no dosage, no prescription, no label. Cacao doesn't cure you like a pill. Cacao reveals, confronts, and reminds you who you really are, or everything you've forgotten. The original peoples believed cacao had its own intelligence. They said the plant speaks. If you consume it in silent respect, it guides you inward, not toward euphoria, but toward the heart. That invisible place where your wounds and traumas, as well as your power, are stored. In cacao ceremonies still held today in places like Guatemala, Peru, Mexico, and Brazil, a drink is made from pure cacao paste. No sugar, no chemicals, no industrial processing, and consumed slowly with song, silence, visualization, or dance. But what's truly striking is that these aren't just wellness rituals. Many of these ceremonies have been guarded by wise women, keepers of lost traditions, who use cacao as a tool to heal the soul, unlock hidden emotions, or open the chest's energy center, the heart chakra. In these ceremonies, they say cacao awakens memories long asleep. Some weep without knowing why. Others recall forgotten trauma. Some see images, symbols, numbers. Some enter deep visionary states without any psychedelic substances. But the most unsettling part is this. Many who've taken part in cacao ceremonies describe feeling contact with a feminine presence, subtle, loving, maternal, yet powerful. They call her grandmother cacao, a metaphor or a real spirit living in the plant. Much like ayahuasca, tobacco, or peyote, ancient shamans understood this well. Every sacred plant has a spirit guide, and cacao's, they said, doesn't seek to change you but to soften you. It doesn't aim to make you fly, but to help you remember. Because pure cacao doesn't cause addiction or wild euphoria. It creates connection, and that's exactly why it's a threat to the system. In a world where everyone feels disconnected, confused, divided, a substance that opens the heart and awakens sensitivity is revolutionary. That's why, in many centers of power, these ceremonies were silenced. They labeled them folklore, paganism, witchcraft. But in the shadows, they never disappeared. They carried on in caves, jungles, on secret altars. For cacao, when called with respect, becomes a mirror, showing you not what you want to see, but what you need to let go. How industry corrupted cacao and robbed us of its power. Everything you call chocolate today isn't cacao. It's a shadow, a caricature, a manipulated product with nothing to do with the living, powerful, spiritual substance ancient peoples revered. They stole it from us and replaced it with poison disguised as pleasure. When European colonizers arrived in the Americas, they didn't understand cacao's true value. They saw it as a novelty, an exotic curiosity, until they saw its commercial potential. Then, as always, they turned the sacred into business. They turned pure, bitter, dense, vibrant cacao paste into an industrial blend loaded with refined sugar, powdered milk, hydrogenated fats, and chemicals that completely distort its nature. The drink of the gods became cheap candy. The ritual became a product. The heart became merchandise. And the cruelest part, they made us dependent because pure cacao doesn't create addiction, but processed chocolate does. Thanks to sugar and synthetic ingredients, the system created an addictive, emotionally manipulative, and spiritually empty version. Ever wonder why so many people reach for chocolate when they're sad, lonely, anxious, or hurt? It's no accident. Commercial chocolate activates the same dopamine receptors as certain drugs. It soothes us, numbs us, but never awakens us. And what about cacao's spirit? It was pushed out, silenced, marginalized. The industry doesn't want you to connect with your heart. It wants you to buy, consume, chew without thinking. To make that happen, it hid the most dangerous truth, that cacao is not just food, it's consciousness. Even worse, the big multinational chocolate companies didn't just distort cacao, they polluted it with suffering. Most modern plantations in West Africa, where over 60% of the world's cacao is grown, rely on child labor, modern slavery, and land practices that destroy both earth and spirit. Kids who will never taste the chocolate they pick. Ripped lands, broken spirits, contaminated energy. Do you think that vibe doesn't get into the final product? Every bar carries the energy of where it came from, and what was once medicine for the heart now carries a burden of pain, exploitation, and neglect. But here's the most chilling fact. Some elites know. In modern occult circles, pure cacao is still used. Not the industrial stuff, but the original bitter living drink. For what? To open the heart or to control it. One thing's clear, ceremonial cacao doesn't advertise on TV. It's not on supermarket shelves. It lives in the shadows, waiting for someone to remember. Will you keep eating crumbs of a memory, or will you seek the source? If you're starting to question everything, you're on the right track. Subscribe and stay tuned, because next up, you'll find out how cacao is making a comeback as a spiritual tool, and why more people are using it to awaken. The return of cacao as a tool for soul expansion. For centuries, cacao was silenced, kept alive only in the collective memory of peoples, reduced to candy, dismissed as trivial, stripped of its soul. But now, something's happening. Cacao is awakening, and with it, we are waking up too. In recent years, a quiet but growing movement has begun to revive ceremonial cacao, not as a fad, but as ancestral memory, a whisper from the earth calling hearts back to connection. Shamans, therapists, healers, musicians, and medicine women are bringing back the sacred use of cacao as a key for healing, emotional opening, and energetic expansion. But not in labs, rather in circles, on altars, in ceremonies where the invisible finds its voice again. Why now? Because we live in a time of hyper-intellect and emotional disconnect. We live in our heads, behind screens, gripped by fear. but cacao works exactly where none of that can reach. The energetic heart, the anahata chakra. When you drink ceremonial cacao, pure, alive, honored, your heart rate syncs up, energy starts to flow, and emotions stuck for years begin to move. Unexpected tears, spontaneous hugs, visions, gut feelings, revelations. Many who've experienced this say it feels like an invisible key turns inside their chest. It's not magic, it's cellular memory. It's the plant saying, "Here I am, I've been waiting for you." And it's not just emotional. Many energy healers explain that cacao, working on the heart, also affects your aura's electromagnetic field, expands your frequency, clears interference, and makes you magnetic. That's why some people report that after several cacao ceremonies, they naturally attract aligned experiences, new relationships, meaningful coincidences, lucid dreams, and even expanded states of consciousness. But here's the best part. You don't need a shaman or a temple to begin. You just need respect and pure cacao. No additives, no sugar, no ego. Ceremonial cacao, warmed with intention, sipped in silence or alongside mantras, breathwork, and inner connection. And here's the big question. Who wouldn't want you to open your heart? Who benefits from your numbness, your disconnection, your coldness? Because a person with a closed heart is easy to manipulate, but a person with an open heart is uncontrollable. They feel, they perceive, they sense. That's why cacao is more than a drink. It's a tool of spiritual revolution. This isn't religion or a trend. It's reclaiming a bridge that's always been there, and now you know it's real. Do you want to feel with your soul again? Like this post, comment if you've tried it, and subscribe. Because awakening is remembering, and remembering can hurt, but it also frees. The heart remembers what the mind has forgotten. For centuries, they taught you to think, but not to feel. They trained you to collect data, solve problems, follow rules, but not to listen to the silent language of the soul. And in that forgetting, in that exile of the heart, we lost a wisdom that doesn't come from books, but wakes from within. In its purest form, cacao is a living symbol of that forgotten wisdom. It's not just a drink, not just a product, it's a code. A key hidden in the earth, wrapped in leaves, waiting for someone to remember how to use it. But this key doesn't open external doors. It opens the only one that truly matters. The heart's door. And we're not just talking about emotions. We mean the magnetic center of your being. That field which, when closed, makes you feel lost, disconnected, hostile, but when opened, remembers, feels, and guides. Today, you don't need permission from a temple or blessing from any guru. You only need to quiet the noise and let pure, raw, ceremonial cacao enter your body as the ancients did, with intention, respect, and soul. Because what you get from supermarkets isn't cacao. It's a shadow, a distraction, forgetting disguised as sweetness. But now you know the difference. Now you know that in every cup of ceremonial cacao lies a real chance to reconnect, a humble portal, no flashy lights or fancy words, yet more powerful than any doctrine. Because when the heart opens, no lie can fool you, no fear can stop you, no system can control you. That's why they hid it from you, why they twisted it. Because they knew that if you remembered who you really are, their whole system would crumble. Today, cacao is coming back, not as a trend or a Sunday therapy, but as a call, a reminder, a seed of spiritual revolution. And maybe not everyone is ready for it. But if you've made it this far, it's because you are. Now decide, will you keep consuming what the industry feeds you, or will you dare to prepare your own cup of conscious cacao? Look inside and open the door the systems tried to lock for centuries. Cacao isn't magical. You are. Cacao just reminds you of that. If this message spoke to you, share this video, leave a comment, and ring the bell. Here on this channel, hidden truths aren't silenced, they're savored. Subscribe and get ready, because each chapter cracks the system and plants a seed in your soul. Until next time.